Hello again, everyone. Todd Michael Putnam here from Creative Adventure Tables, bringing you another adventure table idea. And this one is the Wizard's Basement. The Wizard's Basement. So in one of the previous games of my current campaign that we're playing, the first level characters at the time were in a port town. Super brief synopsis. And while they were in that port town doing some adventuring stuff, a Tarrasque. In fact, I can show you up here a giant Tarrasque. That guy up there came up from out of the deep river port, out of the deep river next to the port, and came around and just started crunching everything like crazy and destroying everything. And the player's job, obviously at first level, was not to try and beat the Tarrasque, but there was a group of doomsayers that were in there. And those group of doomsayers, they believed, unrelated to anything that was, their actual faith was concerned, but they believed because of the coincidence that this was all of their prayers coming true and that the apocalypse was indeed happening. And so they were getting a front row ticket. And so in their minds, their role was to punish all the non-believers by not allowing them to escape. And so they were, basically setting up perimeters, forcing people to try and stay in the village while the Tarrasque is around stomping around on everything, and the players had to defeat the cultists while the Tarrasque was destroying everything. And there was this giant wizard tower, and soon after the Tarrasque showed up, there was some chanting, and it kept getting louder and louder, and the tower itself, was starting to vibrate with the power of this wizard. And the players were going from building to building, basically defeating cultists and grabbing normal villagers to try and escape. And they're trying to make their way towards this tower because they figure the wizard's going to, do something and take care of this Tarrasque. And as they're getting closer and closer, and then all of a sudden, bam, the tower disappears. The wizard just decided to teleport all of his tower out of the way so that he wasn't in the way of the rampaging Tarrasque, which was a bit of a hilarious letdown for the players. But when he teleported his tower, that's what leads into this video, when he teleported his tower, he didn't teleport the whole the basement or anything down below. He just teleported all the upper portions of his tower. And so the players actually grabbed the rest of the villagers and started herding them into the basement. And the area of the room, the first room was just a wine cellar, but there was a door there that the players could see went into other secret areas. And so after the Tarrasque had finally got tired of destroying the town and wandering off elsewhere, and the villagers were let back out into the remains of their town, the heroes decided that at some point they were going to come back and they were going to investigate the wizard's basement. And so my goal was to come up with what kind of basement would a guy who's able to teleport his own tower away from danger, what would he do? What would be in his basement? And so when the players come down the stairs, these are going to be the stairs that came from the upper level where the first, the upper level of the basement where the heroes hid with the villagers. And these are the stairs down from there. They open the door and there's stairs going down. And basically there's runes that are on the floor. And I'm actually no longer playing, it's not necessarily affect whatever you guys are doing, but I'm not actually playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore. I'm playing Shadowdark. And in Shadowdark, wizards can automatically read runes and stuff like that. They don't have to necessarily cast a spell. So when they get to that area, there's going to be runes there. Let me bring it back. There's going to be runes here that those runes that they say imperfect instruments are poor for measuring the universe, which is kind of a strange thing to say. And then to know the universe, study oneself. And so apparently this wizard is doing research on the universe itself, and he's realizing that there's parts of himself that are make for a faulty measurement or a faulty filter, so to speak. In other words, he understands that his own biases as a human being, or as a mortal person, I should say, are interfering with his understanding. And so the first thing he needs to do is learn how to defilter himself, along with studying the origins of the universe and what makes the universe the way that it is. So he's got to study the primary stuff first. And so and there's a another door from here that opens up, and in that room there's like just a little study area here filled with scrolls and things like that for research. I can't remember the exact words, but basically there's a thing here that's life is the primary value, and there's a green door. And so if the players go down this one, when they go into it, all of a sudden they go into a room that looks like almost like the outside, except that you can see that it's clearly bordered by walls. But it's almost like he transported an entire glade to this one area, but the glade looks kind of sickly. A lot of the trees look very weak. There's not much foliage and stuff on them, except for this one central tree that looks pretty good, and some bushes and stuff. So when the players go in, they actually come in to be met by this person here, who is a dryad, not a druid, a dryad, which is like a tree spirit. And she will immediately thank the heroes, and she'll say, where is the wizard? Is he gone? Is he dead? Please help me to escape. He has trapped me here, and I need to be able to escape, and only you can help me. And that is true to some extent, that the wizard did trap her here. But the lie to it is that the wizard teleported all this, and she can never leave her tree. That's just she can only go so far from the tree, and there's no way for the heroes at the level that they're at to be able to teleport her tree away. So she's stuck here, and she knows it. And so she lies to them, though, and she says that if one of them will come in and grab the heart of her tree, to enter her tree with her and grab the heart of her tree, that they will be able to carry that out and replant it elsewhere, and she will be able to live there. And in exchange, she has valuable potions and stuff that she would be happy to teach the players how to make. And so there's a value trade. Well, if she convinces one of them to go in, the first thing she does is she try and charm him. And when she charms him, she'll bring him back out and tell him to attack his compatriots. And also, these rather close to dead looking trees will sprout to life as being very sickly treants. Okay, and they will come and they will begin to attack the players. And the players will basically have to fight off one of their own friends and also the sickly treants. If and when they manage to kill, if let's say this treant here manages to kill one of the players, it will instantly just stop and kind of like grow roots, and it will get some foliage, because the nutrients of a dying animal is just a natural part of the life cycle. And so it will allow this treant to get the nutrients that it needs, because essentially it's just guilty of starving. That's it. It's just in here, and the wizard teleported this in, but there's not everything that needs to happen in order to keep the life cycle going. And so all of these creatures are starving, and so their only source of food is whatever is brought in, and so they see the players as a source of food. By killing them, they drop to the ground, they begin to deteriorate, and their nutrients go into the ground, and then as tree-like creatures, they're able to pull those nutrients in. So as soon as each one of these treants manages to kill a player, if it does, it will grow roots and then automatically begin to drink. It won't continue to attack other players. But if they in fact kill her, the dryad, a very magical being, her blood is worth so much more that all of the trees will immediately stop, or treants, I should say, will immediately stop and begin to try and take in that new nutrients in life's blood, and that would be effectively the end of the encounter. Or of course, if they find a way that they can subdue her, or if there's a way that of course they can always just try and run away. But if they survive the encounter inside the tree itself, the player who was charmed will actually see that there were all these potions and stuff that she had made, and there are things of value, things of even stuff that's just made out of wood that's beautifully carved and things like that. So there's things of great value that they can take if they overcome this particular encounter. And so in this one right here, and you're also going to see there's yet another one of these little stands for the wizard, where he's writing on, and the wizard would come down here and he would basically have conversations with her, and he would observe her like she was a test subject basically, and write notes, because in this area he's trying to research life itself and what it takes and what he would need, because he knows his time as a mortal being is limited, and so he's got to study immortality. And so the first jab at immortality he takes is the natural creatures, the natural life the natural Fey style creatures that have these exuberant lives, and that's what he was attempting to do there. When he comes into this one here, this one is all about, and I forget what the runes say off the top of this one here, but this one is all about the mind and the imperfections of the mind when it comes to studying specifically the core elements of fear and doubt. Those are the two core elements. And when they open up the door to this one, which is like this black door with red runes on it, and they go into it, it's basically a vast void, an endless void. As soon as they step into it, like it opens up into this totally different dimension. And in this dimension, there's these floating rocks that are going through, and there's like little bits of like stars and stuff, but all over the place. And there's again floating rocks here. And the players are able to jump from rock to rock where they make just little dexterity checks. If they fail, then they fall onto the quote-unquote floor of the void. And the way the floor of the void will work is those are going to be intelligence checks because they instantly get a feeling of vertigo. And every time that they're there, they make increasing checks for first a DC 10, then a DC 12, then a DC 15. If they make the check, they'll be able to climb back up onto the rock. They're able to overcome the vertigo effects and climb back up on the rock and have some stability. If they fail, they start moving further and further away. And if they literally fail 3 of the intelligence checks in a row, or 3 intelligence checks total, then what happens is they become lost to the void. They literally just get sucked into the void, and they are never to be seen or heard from again. It has nothing to do with hit points. It doesn't have anything to do with overcoming a monster. In that particular case, if they lose, it's literally just they've got overcome by the vertigo and they've been sucked into the void, and they're not able to make their way back, and they potentially could be lost. So that's one challenge they face. But another challenge they face is if they do make it across the rocks, and they're relatively low DCs. It's DC 12s, I think it is, or DC 10s to get across. And they climb up. There's this giant statue here that's got lights on it and an altar. And in the game, the eyes of this altar will be a blue and a black gemstone of incredible value on each of that. So kind of like very much reminiscent to first edition Player's Handbook. There'll be this giant, I'm leaning over the table here, so I apologize, the camera's shaking a little bit. So this statue with this incredibly expensive gems that are there, as soon as the players pop out those gems, they're all of a sudden, well, I should say, as soon as they enter the room, their anxiety begins to grow, their fear, their doubts, their uncertainty, whether or not this is worth it is gonna start to grow. But as soon as they pop out any of those gems, what happens is their fears and their doubts end up being materialized, and the little individual versions of them basically will show up and attack them directly. So a fighter will attack the fighter, and a thief will attack the thief, and a phantasm of the wizard will attack the wizard player. And they'll basically be functionally identical to the players, but they're incapable of working with each other as a team at all. The phantasms they can only basically see their own duplicate self, very similar to a mirror of opposition. And these phantasms will attack the players, and the players will basically have to overcome them. The advantage the players will have is if one of them defeats their duplicate, that player would then be able to help one of their friends, and it could be 2-on-1, 3-on-1, etc., so on and so forth. So, but if they overcome their own fears and doubts, then they will earn the rewards of the gemstones, the highly valued gems from off of this giant statue thing. But again, you'll see floating off into the void where the highly intelligent wizard was able to go and do. This is where he studied his own fears and doubts and looked at how they impact as he studies the universe, what things actually mean, what he's willing to try, what makes something valuable or not, or valuable enough that it's willing to overcome those fears or overcome his self-doubts. And so that's where he's studying again himself in order to help understand his flaws in checking out the universe. So that's those two doors on either side of the main halls. If you go through this door here, that's They both come from the door on the left is the green door, the door on the right is the black door. They come through this main hallway again. Then they come into a room that's a library that's got a whole bunch of books and stuff on various studying things. And I don't want to drag out the video too long, so it's basically just stuff about what he's studying that gives him some more insight into it. And if they go down these stairs, they can travel around. They can see there's a door on the left and the right again. And then there's a magical wall that's right here that cannot be opened unless the other two doors have been defeated. And essentially, come over to this door over here, come through, and this one here is all about the exact opposite of your internal fears and doubts. The diametric opposite of that would be external validation and success, which in human terms or in mortal terms is often looked at in terms of gold and treasure and stuff. And so there's these two treasure chests that are on the side, and there's this pile of treasure here. But as they come closer to it, that pile of treasure turns into a giant treasure golem that builds itself up and begins attacking the player. And as they're destroying it, as they're trying to defend themselves, they're actually destroying parts of the treasure. If they defeat the treasure golem, they will actually have destroyed the major pile of the treasure. However, the two that are on the side, like this one here and the other one, those will still remain, which will still be a substantial sum of wealth for them. And that will be them overcoming the shortcomings of humanity in terms of how gold changes people and how greed and stuff like that, again, just like fear and doubt, can skew their views. So the wizard was studying his own values and how he used the universe with that model, if you will. And then on the other one, the diametric opposite of trying to have an eternal life in an eternal body, an eternally living body, is to say, okay, well, maybe I can have an eternal life in an eternally dead body. And so here there is a wight, W-I-G-H-T, in here, who's an intelligent being, and the wizard is studying how he exists and how his mind continues to function. They're highly intelligent guys. And he's, of course, an evil, chaotic type creature, so he'll begin attacking the players immediately. And this skull here, this glowing skull, was also arc necrotic energy out at the players, and only by doing enough damage to this golden skull that's over here in the center of it will they be able to stop this particular glowing skull from continuing to arc out random amounts of damage to random numbers of players every round. Plus, of course, they'll have to defeat the wight itself. Once he is defeated, there's some piles of treasure and some magical items and things that are there. And so that's the major areas of the adventure in the wizard's basement. And then last but not least, when all of those are defeated, then there'll be this magic wall that finally comes down. And if any of the players have died, whether they have been lost to the void or killed in any of the other areas, basically it will say the price of life is total humility. And if they are willing to sacrifice all of the treasures that they have on them, everything that they've earned, and they pour that into the top of this thing, the bodies of their deceased comrades will be brought back to life or even teleported into this area. And so it's a choice that they'll be able to have to make. And again, that's basically a test of values. All these were tests of values and stuff and trying to understand by the wizard. But then the players will have their own test in terms of, okay, well, how much gold is worth it in order to bring back Bob, so to speak, provided that one of them has died. It's entirely possible that none of them will. So that's it. That's what's inside the wizard basement. I tried to figure out what a guy who could teleport an entire tower would work on. And my thought was, well, he'd probably try and figure out the understandings of the universe and how to live longer and how to be able to see the universe more clearly without his own biases in the way. And so these were the huge kind of magical rooms that he used to study that kind of stuff. So that's it. And then a quick brief aside, like I said, I've switched over to Shadow Dark. My group and I are just having a blast with it. This is a printed copy of the full book. It's just the PDF that I had printed out and had it spiral bound. And then I went through and I just said, oh, okay, there's, this is the section for the monsters, this is the section for the spells, wizard mishaps, whatever the case may be. And then I created separate books just for the players, which had each of the character classes. So the priest and the druid, the the fighter and the thief and the wizard and the desert raider and pit fighter, etc., so on and so forth, and then the spells across the top, just to organize that to make it faster and easier to use. So that's it. That's what's inside the wizard basement. If you've listened this long, which I did not intend to go 20 minutes, so I apologize. If you've listened this long and you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about the content. And I will see you guys next adventure. Take care. Bye.